Folks, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, so give me 1 second. Okay, making sure that my audio is being shared. Sweet. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining us today. We will be talking about the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. Again, my name is Cassandra Rendon Morales. She, her, ella. I am the Reproductive Rights Campaign Coordinator at the ACLU. And just a little housekeeping, something to remember, like my norm, that nobody knows everything, but together we know a lot. And with that said, we will be taking questions. If there's something that we cannot answer today, I will make sure to follow up with you. I have a little notebook over here where I'm taking notes down. So I just wanted to name that. Also, I want to say a big thank you to Delina for moderating today, as well as other folks who made sure to help us make this thing possible today. I'm sorry, it's a long day. So shout out to Vanya, Katie who helped us, and Lizzie who helped us make sure today's webinar was possible. So like I mentioned, we will be talking about the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. We'll talk a little bit about the national fight for this, as well as give you some tools to take action. I will be sending out this presentation post webinar, so you will have access to this through a Dropbox, as well as some talking points that you can use to, advocate for pregnant folks. So we're going to start with talking a little bit about what the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act is. Let me just make sure that you are able to see that. Awesome. So the history of the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. So we actually introduced this bill back in 2016, HB 1438, with the help of Representative Faith Winter and Senator Beth Martinez-Jimenez. Basically, we introduced this because pregnant women across Colorado were being pushed out of their jobs. Many were forced to risk their health for accommodations like, asking to sit on a stool or asking to drink water during their work hours to stay hydrated. What this bill did was clarify existing law. So it gave some specific examples of what reasonable accommodations were during work hours and in the context of pregnancy. This may include, but are not limited to, more frequent bathroom breaks, access to water bottle, seating, and if available, transfer to a lighter duty position. So in like many other areas, Colorado is ahead when it comes to, advocating for pregnant folks. We'll also learn about other states, which there are a lot of other states who actually have passed this at the state level. But again, like today, we are talking about the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. With that said, so the Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act is known as HR 2694. It was introduced last session in 2019 by Representative Nadler. Very much like the Colorado bill, this would make it where it prohibits employment practices that discriminate against making reasonable accommodations for job applicants or employees affected by pregnancy, childbirth, or related to medical conditions. This is important, again, because pregnant workers are being pushed out of their jobs or forced to risk their health when all they need is a modest accommodation. Again, like being able to take bathroom breaks, being able to access water. Some of the stories that I learned about were, around like being able to eat more during their work shift. They are feeding more than one person. So they just need that energy, Some other accommodations were like taking breaks from, lifting heavy boxes, things like that. Research has shown that failing to receive certain medically necessary accommodations can increase the risk of having a premature baby or a baby with low birth weight. If we know, some folks know this, some folks don't, but we do have a high infant mortality rate, specifically when it comes to Black women, Black mothers across the country. That is a thing. And again, if we're not protecting our pregnant workers, then like that infant mortality rate just goes up. Again, like I mentioned, other states across the country support this law and have passed state legislation to protect pregnant workers. 27 states across the nation. Some of these include Alaska, California, obviously Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, places like Illinois, Kentucky, and there are just a lot more. You'll have access to this once I give you access to that Dropbox with more information. The Federal Pregnant Workers Fairness Act also promotes the health and economic security of pregnant individuals and their family. So just really thinking about the idea that when a pregnant worker is forced to quit or coerced into taking unpaid leave or fired, their employer won't provide a temporary job accommodation. And this can then create a traumatic, like economic trickle effect, right? Again, like some of these folks are their sole breadwinners in their households. So imagine like being put out of work for this. We also, through this COVID crisis, have realized how difficult it is to just even get on public service, so public service accommodations, right? So like getting food stamps, getting unemployment, like it's hard. So you can only imagine how this affects these folks as well. This bill is supported by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They said that they support this bill because it provides greater clarity regarding an employee's obligation for pregnant folks. And also it increases worker productivity, retention, morale. It decreases retraining costs, and it reduces healthcare costs associated with pregnancy complications. So now I want to share with you some common misconceptions about pregnant workers. So today I have a video that was put on by activists, it was put on by national advocates, and it's a short 4-minute video, and I will make sure to play it. And if for some reason we have a technical difficulty, again, you will have access to this video.
I feel like I'm a little swivelly, but yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
So
The first misconception, pregnant workers are guaranteed paid leave from their employers.
I wasn't guaranteed that. In fact, I was only offered unpaid medical leave for 30 days.
Paid leave. The truth is the vast majority of workers don't get any paid leave at all.
So unfortunately, the United States is the only industrialized nation that does not have an obligation for employers to provide paid parental leave. And I think a lot of people are pretty surprised to find that out when they're first expecting a baby.
Pregnant workers already have full protections from workplace discrimination.
Definitely not. Nobody has full protection from workplace discrimination, but pregnant workers are particularly vulnerable.
There are ambiguities in the law about when your employer is required to accommodate pregnancy and related conditions.
Employers are only required to treat pregnant workers as well as they treat everyone else. That doesn't stop them from treating everyone poorly.
Employers have to provide temporary job accommodations for pregnant workers.
I don't think employers think they have to provide anything.
You wouldn't think we would need a federal law to tell employers they should give pregnant workers a break to use the restroom or to bring a water bottle or to take a break from lifting heavy packages. But the reality is that we do need those protections.
And they're given no option except to take unpaid leave if they do develop restrictions during their pregnancy.
No woman should have to choose between her job and a healthy pregnancy.
Women are the only ones affected by pregnancy discrimination.
Anyone who can become pregnant, women, men who are trans, non-binary people, could face discrimination in the workplace while pregnant, and discrimination against a pregnant worker affects the whole family.
Pregnancy discrimination affects all of us. Most pregnant workers are primary or sole breadwinner for their families, meaning that when they lose a paycheck, it affects everyone in their family.
No one should be forced to choose between having a healthy pregnancy and continuing to support their family.
Employers have to provide accommodations for workers who are breastfeeding.
They don't. In fact, a lot of them, if they even accommodate you at all, will give you a closet to pump in. You wouldn't want your, significant other breastfeeding in a bathroom or a supply closet, so why would you want to be pumping in one?
There was a law that was enacted as a part of the Affordable Care Act that mandated that employers provide certain accommodations to covered employees. The problem is that about 9 million women are not covered by that law.
And even after I was demoted for breastfeeding, their accommodation was, we can't guarantee you a break and you can walk off some of your baby weight.
Pregnant workers don't face any barriers returning to their same job or career after their pregnancy.
I mean, that's just laughable.
Pregnant workers face loads of barriers on going back to work. There are complications with your pregnancy. You may not be able to perform the job in the same duty. And in that aspect, an employer doesn't have to hire you back.
It can trickle on to when you're on your maternity leave, when you come back from your maternity leave, if you're breastfeeding, if you have a spouse that works for the same place that you were discriminated against.
The Pregnancy Discrimination Act covers all forms of pregnancy discrimination in the workplace.
The Pregnancy Discrimination Act was intended to cover all forms of pregnancy discrimination in the workplace, and unfortunately the courts in interpreting what it covers and does not cover have been pretty restrictive.
I mean, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act was passed in 1978, and we still see all forms of discrimination still in the workplace. And women, I think, are like almost 50% of the workforce.
I mean, it is hard for me to understand what about this issue is so difficult for members of Congress, because every single member of Congress knows or has known someone who has been pregnant.
I gotta say, there aren't a lot of questions in there about the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, because that's what this is all about, is passing the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act.
I hope the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act gets passed, because cases like mine shouldn't have to be a normal. Other women shouldn't have to go through what I've went through with this.
So now that we watched that video, I want to go in a little bit deeper and share some of the narratives of some of these folks who have been impacted by discriminatory, workplaces. So Monica is from Baltimore, Maryland, and Monica was having to pull freight carts and pallets, and if anybody knows what those things are, they just know that they're heavy. They're really heavy and they take a lot of strength. She was having to do this while pregnant, and eventually she had to stop working altogether because she dilated too soon. And she dilated too soon because her employer refused to, have her go do something that was a little less stress-inducing. So they refused to have her sit at the register. Lucy is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and during her 5th month of pregnancy, she brought a doctor's note that requested the restriction of heavy lifting. 2 days later, they fired her, saying that she was too slow. She had to rely on public assistance until she gave birth, because finding a job while visibly pregnant is nearly impossible. So, just thinking about these two folks whose stories are so relatable, and we probably all know someone who has been discriminated against working while pregnant. I'll give you all a second to read these 2 quotes. They're also from other stories of folks who have been discriminated against working while pregnant. So how can we take action and support these folks? And what can you do today, right? So today we are here, one, to learn about this federal bill, but to ask Cory Gardner to support and sponsor the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. So we're asking Cory Gardner to sponsor this bill because we do need a Senate sponsor. And this bill has passed, well, it has passed in state levels in a bipartisan way. And we also want this federal bill to be bipartisan. So again, this bill has passed over 27 states and it included bipartisan support. And we need a Republican co-sponsor to ensure the bill in the Senate. And we just need Republicans to care about this issue because we need them to tell Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to move this bill. Today, you can take action by clicking on the link below. It's bit.ly/support PWFA. It's to sign a petition saying that, you know, Cory Gardner, we need you to protect pregnant workers. We started this petition drive last summer and currently have over 1,000 petitions filled out, and we are planning on delivering this petition to Cory Gardner. We still don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it making sure that we're socially distanced. And today I'm asking you to, one, fill it out, but to also share it out on social media using the hashtags PWFA, hashtags protect pregnant workers. And again, making sure that you talk and share these resources on pregnant workers, on the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act with friends, family, and colleagues, because like the video said, you know, we all know someone who has been pregnant in her life, and we care about pregnant workers, and it's just the right thing to do. It's also really wild to know that it's 2020 and we still have folks discriminated against pregnant workers in the workplace. Again, like I mentioned, I'm going to share a Dropbox post this webinar, and it will have talking points on there, and I will make sure to send this webinar post presentation along with bit.ly, so you have access to it. I also want to share with you some of the other things that we are working on this week. So this upcoming week, we have another lunch and learn. It's Know Your Rights Police Encounters. This will be led by my colleague, Jessica Howard, and it's on Thursday at 3 p.m., so it's a little post-lunch, but it's still during the day. You'll be able to learn about like what you do if you are encountering the police. As we know, with all the things that are going on right now, I think this would be super important information to get a hold of. And again, you can always visit our Advocacy from Home webpage, where it has all of our post webinars, or sorry, all of the other webinars that we have done. They're up there. There are YouTube links to them, and you can watch them on your own time, or just click through them. Here's also a list of resources. I included some articles on the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that you can read and share again using those hashtags. There's also information on the Colorado law. So if you or someone you know has been discriminated against, you know, you can file something with the state. Again, our Advocacy from Home webpage link is there, and then ways for you to stay connected with us. So our Twitter, Instagram, and then if you do have any legal questions, or you do need any legal support, or you know someone here in Colorado who has been discriminated against or working while pregnant, you can always fill out an intake with us. And with that, here's my information. If you have any questions about this presentation, or you need more information on this issue or another issue, you can always reach out to me. This is my direct email, or you can always visit our website. And with that, I'll open it to questions.
Great, thanks, Cass. I just wanted to correct one small thing. It is actually a lunch and learn on
oh, it was? Okay.
on Thursday, so it is at noon.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries. We'll make sure everybody learns more about that, but they can sign up at peoplepower.org for that too, and we'll make sure to send out the link to the webinar. So it looks like we only have one question, so this is your opportunity to write those questions in, besides a couple of people saying hi and talking about how great you are, Cass.
Thank you. Hi.
Do we know what Senator Gardner has said about this at this point? What's his opinion?
Yeah, so we do not know. So we have a step of actions that we're doing. We currently have a coalition letter of other folks, so other organizations in Colorado who support this and are demanding, you know, Gardner to support this as well. So that's one thing we're doing. We're delivering these petitions, and then we're following up, right? Whether that looks like asking for a virtual meeting, but we want to know, and we want him to go on record on what he thinks about this bill. I mean, the goal is to have him co-sponsor, right? But we also want to put him on record saying whether he supports this or if he doesn't care about pregnant workers.
Great. We do have another question about how we can support this if we don't live in Colorado. And I'm going to pull up the page here, but I know that ACLU National has an action.
Yes.
Do you have that handy?
I don't have that handy right now, but I'll make sure to send it out with the follow-up email. They do have, there is a national petition, so I'll send that around.
Okay, so yeah, there is, like Cass said, a national petition where we can, right now it's focused on the House because we are still trying to get this out of the House, and we do need to put pressure on those legislators. What we're trying to do in Colorado, which is, it seems like preemptive since it hasn't gotten out of the House, is trying to get Cory Gardner to support this, be an original co-sponsor in the Senate. So that's why it's a little bit different than the action on the ACLU page. But yeah, we invite you to take that action. All right. And I give it a second for any other questions to come through. Again, we do have the webinar on Thursday, and there'll be more webinars to come and actions this week on lots of important issues, things that are going on that we definitely all want to take action on. All right, anybody else? Oh, here comes a question. Are there other Republican senators that are being targeted as potential sponsors?
There are, and I don't have the list of them in front of me right now, but I will make sure to send that in the follow-up.
Great. So we are, as Cass said, this is a bipartisan effort to, get this passed. So we are looking for, those sponsors in the Senate that are Republicans. Seems like a common sense thing, right, Cass? We should have been doing this for hundreds of years.
Yes, and people don't know that pregnant folks aren't protected in the workplace, so that's why going back to that action item of like, yes, fill out that petition, share it online, but also talk to your friends, families, and colleagues about this issue, because I bet you a lot of them have been, have experienced this before.
Yeah. You do hear, especially our lower wage workers who, work retail and things like that, you do hear some horror stories about them being discriminated against and not given the accommodations they need so that they can continue to work. And because they're lower wage workers, that does just put them closer into poverty and in need of public assistance, when it could be a water bottle at your workstation or a stool or something very simple. So.
Exactly.
All right, well, it looks like we have no more questions. So we hope you all have enjoyed our Lunch and Learn today. Cass, do you have any closing thoughts? Oh, wait, another question came up. Oh, thank you. That was a thank you.
Oh, of course. You're welcome. And thank you for joining us today. I know that, there are a million things happening right now across the country. And this is just another issue that we need your support on, and we want people to learn more about. So again, share this out with folks. Email me if you have any questions, any specific questions, or if you need any kind of support when it comes to accessing resources.
All right, well, we are doing more, Naomi. We are doing one on Thursday at 1 or at noon. Boy, we're not gonna get that time right.
At noon, yes. I will make sure to send that out immediately.
And
with
that
the
one will
correction.
be a Know Your Rights presented by Jessica Howard, our community education manager. And it will be on police encounters, which is very timely. So we hope you will all join us for that.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you all for being with us today, and hopefully we'll see everyone on Thursday.
Yes. Thank you. Take care.